Hey there, chemistry fam. Welcome to the last week. Congratulations for making it and surviving this far. Um, let's jump into it. So today we're going to go through naming, what I'm expecting you to be able to kind of replicate on the exam. And then tomorrow we're going to get our meetings, which by the way, it's in Google Classroom. That's going to be part of your homework. You need to sign up for a spot. It's a quiz grade to actually show up. So you need to figure out a time you can meet. And if none of the times available work for you, you need to get up with me and make it work. That's very, very important. I'm taking that very seriously. So please make it happen. And again, if you need help setting something up or figuring something out, just send me a message. I'm flexible. We'll figure it out. But I need you to sign up for that. And then Wednesday, I make the exam available. So let's review some old notes. So back when we started the organic chemistry section, we went through some generic naming stuff. Um, Namely that each number of carbons corresponds with a very specific prefix. Um, and those are going to be very important. So just for easiness sake, I've kind of put them on this main page. The second thing is we looked at sort of what these numbers mean. And basically, in a straight chain, these numbers are telling us how many carbons are in the longest straight chain of the piece. And a straight chain means they're all connected in a line. In other words, we said if I have a highlighter, the longest I can trace without stopping. So with here, I could trace from the left all the way to the right. From here, I can't go up and then right. And I can't go right and then up because I can't backtrack. So I can only trace 3. So this has 4 in a row. So the prefix for this one would be but, but this one can only have 3 in a row. So that would be prop. Um, and here were our examples. Methane group, methyl group, we talked about that. Like dimethyl means there are 2 lone C's on it. Ethane 2, propane 3, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to review that homework in just a second, and we have this. So let's review this real quick, because this was a very important assignment we had. Um, you're looking for the longest chain possible. We count starting from the busiest end, and then once we've numbered it, we can name whatever's left. So from here, I could start from the left, go all the way through to the right, and I'm done. So this ends up being 5. My prefix for 5 is pent, so this is pentane. Why is it pentane? Because there's only single bonds. And an alkane has single bonds. If there was a double bond, it would be pentene, and if it was a triple bond, it would be pentyne. So this one would also be pentane because I can start from one end and go all the way to the other end without picking up or doubling back, and there are 5 carbons. With this one, if I start at one end and I have traced to the other end, I can only catch 4, especially even if I did this. If I went left and then up, that's still only 4. So if I count from the busiest end, which means where there's most stuff going on, there's more stuff going on the left than the right. So I'd start counting from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the question is, what's the lowest number that this guy that's left alone is touching? The lowest number he's touching is number 2. So this guy would end up being, what is this guy called? A single carbon? It's a methyl group. So the methyl is on number 2, so it would be a 2-methyl, and then we have butane chilling right here with the 4. So for this one, we had the same name because again, we can only trace a certain way. And I'm going to do it the other way just to show you. If I trace straight across instead of going down, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this guy was left all alone, then this is the right side's busier than the left side. So this carbon would be 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the lowest number carbon that this methyl group is touching? Number 2. So this is still 2-methyl, and then I have a butane. So these 5 carbons you can trace all the way across, and there's only 5, and there's no double bonds or triple bonds, so it's pentane. This was the interesting one, and I'm going to do a different one. but it's a similar one because you're going to have one of these on your exam. So, what's the longest line I can draw? So if I were to go straight up, I could get 4. If I were to go straight up and then take a right, I could take a 4. If I were to go straight up and then take a left, I could get 4 carbons. So it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to go straight up because straight lines are cool. All right. So I'm going to have to figure out, since I didn't catch everybody, what order do I need to make these carbons? So is it busier on the top or the bottom? There's more stuff going on at the top with these carbons up here, so I'm going to have to list these as carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, and carbon 4. So if I have 4 carbons all connected with single bonds, then what's my name going to be already? If I have 4, it's going to be butane. So I already know that this is going to have butane in the name. So what carbon are my pieces touching? They're both on 2, so I know I'm going to have a 2. So what is a single carbon called? It's a methyl, right? It's a methyl group. So if I have a 1 methyl group, I'd say 2-methyl-butane, right? But I have 2 of them. So if I have 2 methyls, that's dimethyl. So 2-dimethyl-butane. And that's similar to 2-dimethyl-propane because both of these C's were on the 2. If this kind of stuff is really tripping you out and you're having a hard time, this is what you need to bring up tomorrow in our meetings. So I wanted to go over this homework assignment because this is largely what your problems would look like. So where'd my paper go? I just dropped it. There it is. So these and these are different, okay? The reason is these are going to focus on having a methyl group, which means that your naming would be slightly different. Notice the numbers in the front when you're talking about the methyl group, but the numbers in the middle when you're talking about a bond. So I'm gonna distinguish those by having a section that says bond naming, and I'm gonna have a section called methyl naming. So you'll know which one's which. So just letting you know that in advance. Be careful. Make a note somewhere. So here you were just supposed to name the structure based on where the bond was placed. So here we had 2 carbons attached with a triple bond. So according to my little naming system, what are 2 carbons? 2 carbons should give an F, right? So how many of these have F in the name? So for number 1, I know it's only going to be one of these 2 because there are 2 carbons and they have to have an F. So it's going to be ethyne or ethene. So the question is, what's the difference between these 2 words? Well, ane is a single bond, ene is a double bond, and ine is a triple bond. Oh, that's not a quadruple bond. My marker slipped. Triple bond. So how many bonds does this have? There's a triple bond. So if this is a triple bond, it has to be ine, which makes this ethyne. So the answer to number 1 would be C. Number 2, I have 3 carbons. What is my prefix going to be for 3 carbons? It's going to be propane. So what are my options here? Well, I only have one option. It's gonna have to be propine. So I guess a good question is, why didn't I put prop 1-ine? Why is there no number here? So check this out. If I have this guy and this guy, right? They look different. So if I named this from the busiest end, it would be 1, 2, 3. If I named this from the busiest end, it would be 1, 2, 3. What carbon is the triple bond touching here? Carbon 1. What carbon is the triple bond touching here? Carbon 1. They're going to be the exact same name every time. So no matter what I do, this is going to be propine. So it would be prop 1-ine no matter what. So in other words, there's no point in putting the number because it's always the same. It's like if you have 2 bananas, calling this, oh, this is banana 1 and this is banana 2. No, who cares? They're both banana. That was a dumb example, but propine. Namely, you know it's propyne because there's a triple bond and there's 3 carbons. So this would be E. Number 3, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons. So what does my naming say that's going to be? Hex. So what are my options? B is hex and F is hex. What's the difference between these two? 2-ine and 3-ine. So this is a naming question. So if I were to number these, what's busier, the left side or the right side? This is on the left side, so I'm going to start from the left. Carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, carbon 6. Okay, so what's the lowest number that this triple bond is touching? 2. So B has hex 2-ine, F has hex 3-ine. This has got to be the lower number, so this is hex 2-ine. So 3 is B. Number 4 is a similar problem. It also has 6 carbons, except the triple bond is in the middle. And so since there's nothing more on the left than there's the right, it's pretty balanced, as all things should be. It doesn't matter where I start counting, so I'll just count from the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would mean, what's the lowest number that my triple bond's touching? 3. So this has to be hex 3-ine. So that'd be F. Number 5, I have 2 carbons. So we've already ruled out C, ethyne, so this has to be ethene. But we know it's ethene because ENE means a double bond, and this has a double bond. So this is D. We could just rule the other ones out because we've done all the rest of them, but just for the sake of class, let's actually talk about it. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons. If we have 4 carbons, that puts us in bute territory. So it's got to be A just because it's bute. But just to get the naming right, we have to name this from the left to the right because the triple bond's on the left. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. The lowest one this triple bond's touching is 1. So this would be bute 1. Triple bond means YNE, so this would be ine. Bute 1-ine. And that is my answer, A, even though I had a little marker explosion there. Okay, so the 2 types of naming you're going to see on this exam are this bond naming, ine, ane, ene, all that jazz. And the other type you're going to see is methane naming. Okay? So, if this is a weak point for you, I would highly recommend this being the focus of when we meet tomorrow. Um, Something I forgot to mention. It doesn't matter. Something I forgot to mention. It doesn't matter. You don't have to sign up separately for different classes. If you're having algebra and chemistry exam, then you don't have to sign up for 2 different meetings. We can talk about both classes in each meeting. With that being said, so your homework is to make sure that you have signed up for tomorrow, or to figure out when you can meet and let me know. And then we will meet on Zoom and get this all squared away. Congratulations for making it through the jankiest year ever, having tons of teachers who all have their own styles. That's tough, but you guys toughed it out. That's what you guys are. You're tough. Have a great day, and don't forget to sign up.